Hey, what's up everybody? It is Kellen here from Starter Systems, and welcome back to MX's ATV All Out, where we are going to get down and get funky today on Budds Creek. Round number 11 of the 2019 Lucas Oil AMA Pro Motocross Series is recreated here in MX's ATV All Out as part of the AMA Motocross Season Pass that they have going on right now. And I'm sure you guys have already seen either Yellow S2K's video or, Wyndham's or somebody else's video on this, but now it's my turn to do a little bit of video action, and really I'm just kind of pushing these back to when they're going to be released to the public, which is today as you're watching this video, the 13th of August. Yeah, that's what day it is. So you guys will be able to try out this track the same day, like not even have to watch this video and go, oh man, I wish I could play that right now. Nope, you can go play it right now. Try it out. So I'm going to go ahead and ride around this track here for a little bit, do like a lap or so, and then show you guys a couple of the other little nuanced things that I've found so far on the area, which is why I'm doing free ride instead of doing motos or doing laps this time. And then what I'm going to do in this video, if you guys missed my Unadilla gameplay, I've sort of turned the MX's ATV tracks into my weekly recap videos of what's been happening on, real motocross, where it's kind of a little like semi-short podcast where we chit-chat about what's been going on. You guys hear my thoughts and then go into the comments and we just continue to argue down there. I'm kidding. We go down to the comments and we have some constructive discussions going on down there. And yeah, we'll talk about all the fun haps. But yeah, Budds Creek. Love this track. I think they've done a fabulous job here putting it in the game. Overall it seems pretty well set up. I'd say this corner needs to be a little bit more off camber, and Henry Hill needs to be bigger. As I come down the hill to Henry Hill, I know that it's a little steeper on the up face here. I've never actually been to Budds Creek in real life, but just over the years, seeing so many different shots of the track, I feel like I could say that that's a pretty accurate statement. But Marylanders, let me know if that's true or not. Let me know if I'm blowing smoke at my tuckus and Henry Hill isn't that big. If it's not that big, then man, Henry sure launched pretty far down to flat off of nothing. But yeah, I'm sure that you guys will tell me whether or not I'm an idiot. Either way, just gonna ride the track here for just a quick minute and then show you guys, like I said, one other cool part of the track that I found, and then we'll do some motos on the track and talk about what's been going on. But that's basically one full lap of this track. Love it. Wanted to go to this. So here's the map. And as you can see, they have the speedway track on it. In real life, there's a drag strip that runs down at the bottom here. They did not include that, but they included some of the parking up here. They have some of the buildings and other things mixed in. And then in the middle of the speedway, which I don't believe is actually there, they did this like little local cross track. I don't ever remember seeing that there in past images or in satellite images. It could be, and they've just started using it for like local races and stuff, but I don't think that it's there. Either way, I'll show you guys what it looks like just real quick so you guys can get an idea, and then I'll go back to doing motos on the track. But yeah, just like kind of a little, it's almost like an arena cross, but yeah, I don't know. I call it local cross when you have these like not necessarily huge jumps. It reminds me a lot of like fairground racing. Los Banos, for any of you California natives, was a lot like this type of track. And there's a track in MX Simulator called Pierce Motorsports Park, I think it was. That was based off of a real track in Indiana or something like that. And that was very similar to this, where it's like a small little local track. But it's built into the speedway, which is actually, it's legitimately there. They have short course racing and flat track racing at Budds Creek every now and then. I don't think they have ever used this for any like flat track series AMA-wise or anything like that, but it's definitely part of the facility, so it's cool that they included this little smaller track in the middle and then the speedway track, which I'm going to go ahead and go to the outside here and do a quick little speedway ride with the drone camera. But it's pretty cool. You can kind of just hold it wide open, get into fifth gear, lean back, and just carry tons of speed all the way down this long backstretch of the speedway. And don't even have to let off. You just kind of anchor into the corner, rip through. I don't know. I guess I don't know what the front or the back stretch is, but kind of cool that they have all this as part of the track, and it's not just the actual racetrack. I know that in my Unadilla video, I actually missed that they included the amateur track, a little beefed up version of the amateur track at least, on the Unadilla grounds, and I didn't get around to showing you guys that. So I wanted to show you guys a little bit of it at the beginning of the video here from Budds Creek. But like I said, I wanted to spend most of the time, did it again, talking about real life moto, since that is my true kind of pride and joy, like where my heart resides in talking about real life motocross. So yeah, Unadilla just happened over the weekend, and we have seen the, I guess the real Ken Roxon, the real Slim Shady, please stand up. He has showed up again, and you know, a lot of people have been saying, you know, this illness that he's talking about, it's just fake, because clearly when he's on, he can do that, which was, you know, amazing. Like, he started, whatever it was, like third or fourth the first moto, walked to the front, was out of there. Then the second moto, I think he was right up front pretty early on, and went right to the lead and was out of there again. 1-1, easy day when all was said and done. The one caveat to that is that, you know, this illness that he's been having, he has said, and who knows if it's true, but he said that he hasn't been able to train as much because of it, and the less you train, the less, you know, used to the heat you'll be, and, you know, going long distance in motos, which seems to be his kind of kryptonite this year anyway. And you know, the hot days have really killed him. WW Ranch was his worst moto of the year. He got a 10th. Redbud wasn't great either, and Redbud was very, you know, humid. It wasn't like scorching hot day at Redbud, but it was a very, you know, humid day where, you know, the heat will definitely get to your internals more than it will to feel the outside of your skin, you know, boiling like it would have at WW. And then he kind of got back to form at Washougal a little bit, got on the podium, and then right back onto it, you know, where we saw him at the beginning of the season, early season form. Kenny has showed up again at Unadilla, and he's back. But it was only a high of 70 in New Berlin, New York that day. So again, I think it's more heat related than anything. Whether or not he is still suffering the illness from the antibiotics that he had when he, you know, had all those lime burns from San Diego Supercross, as he says was the problem that caused him to have all these health issues. I don't know. And, you know, I tend to like believe these guys when they speak something. You know, most of the time they say quiet and reserved, but when they actually go out of their way to say something like Kenny has with this illness, I tend to believe them. Whether or not he is telling the truth, I will just, you know, sway entirely away from though. But what we did see at Unadilla was, you know, the alter ego of Eli Tomac. Daniel Blair calls him Levi Tomac. Denny Stephen calls him Elito Mac, when he just doesn't ride like Eli knows how to ride, like you and I know how Eli knows how to ride. It was just an off day, and he said he had arm pump in the first moto. It was pretty clear to me that that was happening about 15 minutes in the moto, because he just looked like he couldn't hold on. Very up and down on the bike, very stiff riding, and it seemed like his suspension was a little bit too choppy, a little too stiff, and they softened it up for the second race, and it looked like he was a lot more comfortable. Maybe not as comfortable as Kenny and Marvin were, but definitely enough to, you know, ride the whole moto at a decent clip, pass Osborne, and get away from him for a third. So 7-3, I mean, you could say championship salvage mode or whatever, but Eli himself was like, I gotta win all these races because I want to wrap up the title early. So I think that this was not part of his plan whatsoever over the weekend. It was just another weird off day for Tomac, which, again, it always goes back to what I've talked about 1,000 times in my videos, in that, you know, we're getting to the point where Tomac is one of the all-time greats in terms of wins. Like, he's getting up there in Supercross wins. He's 7th or 8th all-time now indoors. He's 5th all-time outdoors. And when all is said and done, he'll probably be in the top 5 of both statistics. And whether or not he walks away with the Supercross title, we'll see. But he's probably going to win 3 outdoor titles in a row, which has barely ever been done before. And he is now, in my opinion, you know, up there with the greats of the sport. That being said, you can't ever compare him to a Carmichael or a Stewart or an even Dungey or a Villapoto, because they never did that. They just never did. Stewart, when he came back from all his concussions, started riding pretty bad, but you could tell it was just well off, and it wasn't just like a you know, oh, you know, Good Stu's gonna show back up and win a moto anytime now. It was like, oh man, this is not good. I think James needs to have a seat, and eventually he did and went into retirement. But Dungey never had motos where he started first and finished 7th. Villopoto never had motos where he started first and finished 7th, without crashing, I should say. And McGrath, Carmichael, they just didn't do it. And the competition is maybe a little tougher now, just in terms of like the top 5 depth is a little bit stronger, because McGrath would have to deal with like Lusk and Emig and Albertine outdoors, but beyond that, I guess Henry too, but it was a pretty depleted field beyond that. And, you know, Ricky, there's a couple years there for a while where it was like, you know, Ernesto Fonseca and Tim Ferry and Sean Hamlin were like the guys behind him doing battle. And it was like, okay, clearly this isn't the best of the best out there. You know, Chad wasn't quite there yet for some of the seasons, or really wasn't, you know, up to the stuff of Ricky Outdoors anyway. And then by the time James came around, Ricky was already on a swan song. So you could say that the competition was a little less. I understand that. But even if the competition was a little less, Eli Tomac went from a 4 or 5 second lead early in the race to finishing over, you know, almost a minute behind the eventual winner of the race. Those guys just didn't do that, which is why when Tomac does it, we just have to kind of call him on it as like, oh, that's not a good look. He's still going to be fine. He's still going to win the championship. I get it. You guys can rag on me all you want about, oh, he's just going for the championship, and, you know, he's just taking it easy, man. That's what he's going to do. But those guys never did it, you know? So that's why I'm saying you got to hold Eli to this higher level now, because he's getting there stat-wise, and it's just really weird to see him have days like that. But he'll come back at Budds Creek and go 1-1 and just shut everybody up, and it'll be a moot point. But what I did want to talk about, and, you know, 250 class, whatever, Freitas, Cianciarulo, the Swapti motos, and Cianciarulo's on his way to winning the championship. I wanted to spend a lot more of this video talking about a lot of different things outside of the actual racing that's been going on. And number one, I want to start off with Kawasaki declining the ability for their riders to go to Motocross of Nations. And I've seen a lot of for and against arguments for it. I've actually been quite disappointed in American media sticking up so hard for Kawasaki. I understand if you're of the opinion that it's an okay move for Kawasaki to, you know, make sure their riders aren't going and sit them out and prepare them for Monster Cup. If that's your opinion, I understand that, but the media to be backing Kawasaki so hard on this has been really kind of disappointing for me, because, okay, I will agree the Nations isn't, for most American riders, it isn't the biggest race in the world anymore. It used to be. It probably isn't anymore. Anaheim is bigger. I think that's it, though. I don't think you can classify one single race being bigger than Nations, other than maybe Anaheim. Winning Anaheim once pretty huge. It's the first race of the year. It's a big, you know, showdown of everybody again, and, you know, Anaheim's a big deal. But beyond that, it's all just season racing, and all these guys are out there trying to win a championship, and Kawasaki clearly wants Eli to win the Supercross titles, so sitting him down, if that's what they think is going to help and to save them a little bit of cash to not have to travel to the Netherlands, whatever, dude. You know, that's a little chicken-esque to me, but it's their team, not mine, so I'm not going to tell them how to run their team. What I hate about it, though, is we've got this whole fan base switch going on right now, where a lot of the American fans that I'm watching and reading comments about are saying, well, Donations doesn't matter anyway, so why even send a team entirely? No, stop. That's you guys are terrible. That opinion is way out to lunch, because Donations has always been a huge deal. It's been very important for years and years, and I think at this point what I'm reading into it as is that because America hasn't won since 2011, American fans are just kind of disinterested now. They don't like watching these races where their riders get their doors blown off, and we're going to lose in Assen. I'm sorry. I really want them to win. I love Anderson, Osborne, and Justin Cooper going for us, but we're going to lose. Regardless, I still think we always have to send a team, and we always have to try to put our best foot forward out there, because America still is a powerhouse, nation in our sport, and to just say, well, we're not going to win, so why send a team, is just so terrible. Because imagine if all those years that America was going and winning, Belgium was like, forget about it. Why would we send Everts? No point. Or, even in the 10s into the in the noughties, I guess is what they've been started to call the 2000s and into the 10s. If Italy was just like, forget it, we're just never going to send a team because, Cairoli, we're just going to put a bunch of weight on his back and nobody else is going to be there to help him, and we're just going to lose anyway, so no point, just never go. That's the point. Like, all these nations sending their best riders in the world, it's not an exhibition race. It is the biggest event in the world. Now, do I agree to some extent that everybody should be getting paid more? Absolutely. I think everybody should be getting paid more to go to do this race. Not just the Americans. I think it's silly to assume that America is the darling of the event, and if we're going to pay anybody to come race this, we should pay the Americans to come race it. I think that's backwards thinking. I think every nation that comes should be paid the same because they're all trying their best to win. Even if Greece doesn't have a chance to win the nations this year, if they send a team, they're trying their best. They're going in there, and whatever goals they have, they're going to show up and do work. And, can you imagine if, tomorrow the FIM decreed, all right, so Anaheim 1 opener, we're going to pay Eli Tomac $10,000 to show up, and we're going to pay Adam Enticknap nothing because I don't think he really, in the grand scheme of things, is drawing that many fans. But Tomac clearly is, so, we got to pay him the 10 grand. That would be met with strong negative criticism, and I'd assume the same would happen if you said, all right, well, USA, they probably draw the most crowd to this event, so let's go ahead and pay them an extra 5 grand to come. And then Australia goes, I might, I'm over here just trying to come up to the race, and just bloody, you're paying these guys and you're not paying us. Terrible Australian accent, I know, but that's just terrible. Australia goes every year, they send a great team, and they try their best, and they're not getting paid by Ustream and the FIM to come every year, more than the USA or anything like that. They're getting paid the same, and they're coming and showing up and racing every year. That's not the point. As a business decision, which this is ultimately done by Kawasaki, a business decision to keep their riders safe going into, the Monster Energy Cup because it's so important, and Supercross because it definitely is important, and then to save them a little bit of cash on the end of it. I think it's an actually really negatively impactful business decision because you're taking out your elite riders from one of the biggest races of the year to get a lot of exposure on a world scale for your brand. Eli Tomac is probably the marquee rider for Kawasaki right now, I would say. I don't think they're writing a huge check to Clement Dassault to do that, but Roman Fevre is going to Kawasaki next year, so maybe, I don't know, maybe they consider Fevre more important in the grand scheme of things next year, but, Fevre's on Yamaha now, so what does it matter to them? They should be wanting Tomac to go to Donations and wanting Adam C. and Cirillo to go and make that KX250F look good at Donations. Instead, they just shot themselves in the foot and said, nope, neither of you guys can go. And I think that's BS. Again, my opinion, your opinions may differ. The American media's opinion definitely differs, but that's BS to me. As a manufacturer, that is very wrong. I have a lot more anguishing things I could say about it, but I'm just going to kind of bite my tongue on, and we'll leave it at that. I think it's wrong that Kawasaki has decided they are not sending their riders to Motocross of Nations. And what it has done, it has left us with a team of riders that I'm actually very excited for, because honestly, I think Tomac would have probably done pretty good at Aston, but he seems like he's a little less motivated every year that he goes to the Nations to actually do well for the team. That's just my own opinion. So I actually wasn't too keen on the idea of sending Tomac anyway. I was more on board with them sending Cian Cirillo as our 250 guy, and I think that would have been plenty fine. But Justin Cooper as a 250 pick is a really good choice for me, and the only reason that I say that that's a better choice than maybe AC was Justin Cooper gets great starts. And when you're on a 250F, you're always inevitably going to have 450s on the gate next to you at the Nations. That's just how the motos stack up. Justin Cooper is going to get great starts, and that is a huge help, because to have your 250F rider get good starts and run up front early and get away with the group, so to speak, and not get stuck in the midfield battles, those are where your battles are won and your points are won. Oftentimes, the guy that wins the MX2 class at the Nations goes like 4-6 or 5-7 or something like that. If Justin Cooper can throw 8-8 on the board, I think USA is in a pretty good position to have something to say about either the podium or the overall victory at the day. I think Jorge Prado is probably going to go like 3-3, 4-4, something like that, and be the top MX2 guy. But Justin Cooper, I think, is a great pick because of his starts. Like, that is a huge plus side for him going for us. Maybe AC could have outraced his pace, but clearly AC hasn't really been outstarting Justin Cooper most of the years, so that's a big plus for me. And then Anderson and Osborne, both of those guys are gonna go full send. They're very much like Justin Barcia. Like, they step up to the plate and represent their country hard. The last time Jason Anderson was there, he won a moto. He was the last American to win a moto at the Motocross of Nations in 2016 before he got landed on by Natsuka. But I think both of those guys are absolutely going to send it, and I'm really excited because all three of them have committed to going over several weeks before donations and just training in the sand for 3-4 weeks or whatever they said it was going to be, getting ready for donations while the GP riders are out finishing their season. They have Shanghai 2 weeks before donations, so they don't necessarily have that ability to kind of prep as much as those guys will be, and it's a fabulous idea to go over there early and get the time in and get kind of prepped for donations. I think that's going to really suit them well, in terms of having a strong showing at Aston this year. So very excited about our team. Team France was also announced earlier this week, and they're going to have Paulin Febvre and Tom Vial on a 250 go, which is kind of what I expected all along. Musquin and Ferrandis apparently were asked and both turned them down. A little disappointed in Ferrandis, but his reasoning actually makes quite a bit of sense to me. And what he said was he hasn't been training in that deep sand for several years now. He's been in the USA since 2017. And what he said was that he didn't think he'd actually give the team their best chance because of that reason. Whereas Tom Vial, I don't think he lives in Belgium right now, but obviously being from France, he's close enough to Belgium to go ride in the sand a lot. So he's used to it. He had a pretty good showing at Lommel weekend ago or 2 weekends ago, whatever it was now. So I think Vial is actually not necessarily that bad of a choice. Now, Musquin not going, I think he probably would have been better than Paulin, in my opinion, but it's pretty hard to take Paulin off the team as he's been captain for the 5-peat every year. And Marvin, I'm bummed he's not going, but more so than anybody else, I kind of get it because the French Federation has really bent Marvin over several times. Most recently was Red Bud last year, but they have openly stated how displeased they are with Marvin coming to the US and not staying in Europe and winning world championships. And they've kind of used that against him several times before, where it's like, Marvin's wanted to go. He's probably been the clear choice that should go. And they just said, no, we're not picking you because you were a traitor. So I was actually surprised to hear that they went after him this year. Disappointed in him and Ferrandis both saying no. But, I think for Marvin's sake, I get it. For Ferrandis, I'm kind of like, dude, you probably should have went. But I don't know. I get it more for those guys than I do for Americans not going, in my opinion. And then Kenny's not going, which I'm actually very disappointed in. The German team was announced, and he's not on it. It was Dennis Ulrich, I think Jacoby, and should have remembered who the MX Open rider would have been. But Kenny not going is kind of a bummer too. I was actually shocked to hear that. I know he's been having the illness, but Donations has always been a cooler race, and honestly, I don't think HRC or Suzuki or Red Bull KTM or any of those teams, they don't really give a crap about winning Monster Cup. They just want to go there and spoil a monster rider from winning $1 million, which they didn't do last year, but they have in the past. And Marvin even won $1 million one year. So I don't think they care that much about winning it. I think they're just going there to be a spoiler. So every team outside of Kawasaki, I think really wanted whichever rider they had to go, and it just, you know, for Kenny, he's not going, which sucks. I think he should have gone. And then I also heard this week, too, that Cooper Webb was asked to go and be the open rider, and Zach Osborne would have rode a 250F, which to me would have been dream team. Like, if Tomac and AC aren't going, that would be A2 team. Like, not A+, but A2, like A- or just regular A team to send. But Webb turned him down. Sounds like that was maybe an Alden Baker decision, which Alden Baker has said before he thinks the Nations is kind of a pointless event for his guys to go to, which shove it up your South African tuchus, Alden. But no, Webb turned him down, and I was really surprised to hear that because of the type of year he's been having, and to like wrap it up by going to the Nations, I think would have been just a really special way for him to kind of put a cap on what was been an epic season thus far for him. But as it turns out, it's not going to matter anyway, because it sounds like he tore his ACL. So, you know, in one way, I'm very bummed he decided not to go. I think he really should have. But now I guess it kind of saved the heartache of him being picked, and then suddenly all the flurry and rush of, oh, now what are we going to do if, you know, he went out at Dilla after being picked and tore his ACL. But come on, Webb, step up. You know, race for your country. I know that he's a pretty gritty guy. I think that all is said and done, he'll look back and kind of regret not deciding he should have went. But either way, I think these guys need to go, man. It's a little ridiculous. Like, all these guys in the 80s and the 90s, it was so prideful to go for your nation and represent. And I mean, winning the event, you ask any of the guys that have won the event, it's been the highlight of their career a lot of times. Ricky won a ton of things, and he repeatedly says how special it was to win on home soil at Bud's that one year, how special it was to win at Ernée in France. Travis Pastrana has done everything on either side of the earth on a motorcycle, and he still says one of his most special memories was winning Motocross of Nations in 2000 at Saint Jean d'Angely. Like, this is a huge deal. These guys need to go. I will always stick by that logic. I don't really care too much about what they have to say about not going. I think that they always should go. And that's going to be my rant done here this week about all the drama that's been going on. So much more I could talk about, but I don't want to keep you guys all day long here. I've already talked for so long as it is. But I would love to hear all your guys' thoughts and opinions on what I have said, what I've offered. You know, go back and forth in the chat a little bit, counter arguments and whatnot. I'm always open to hearing other opinions. I have my own, and I like to voice my opinions, but I also like to hear what you guys have to say and try to rebuttal. And, you know, bench racing is probably my favorite thing to do in the sport as it is. So when we have the opportunity to bench race, I like bench racing. So thanks again, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Bud's Creek gameplay, MX vs ATV All Out. And see you guys in the comment section below. I'm out of here. See ya.